Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the news from SABA satellite channel from Marib. Here are tonight's top stories. Presidential Leadership Council reviews reforms, security and regional threats. Prime Minister announces new public-private partnership unit. And Defense Minister discusses military cooperation with EU and France. Welcome back. The Presidential Leadership Council held a meeting today, chaired by President Dr. Rashad Al-Alimi. The meeting discussed local developments and with a reform matrix across several tracks, including government efforts to improve living conditions, basic services, institutional presence, security and stability. President Al-Alimi briefed the Council on the outcomes of his visit to Djibouti and talks with the presidents of Djibouti and Somalia, which focused on bilateral relations, Red Sea security, the Gulf of Aden, smuggling, organized crime, and cross-border armed groups. The meeting also reviewed security developments in the liberated governorates, including recent assassination crimes in Aden, and praised security authorities for tracking and arresting those involved. The Council approved the proposals presented by the Prime Minister to strengthen administrative and institutional performance and renewed Yemen's condemnation of Iranian attacks on civilian and economic facilities in Kuwait, the UAE, Qatar and Bahrain. During a meeting in Aden with the leadership of the Aden Chamber of Commerce and Industry and representatives of the private sector, Prime Minister Shaya Zindani announced the government's intention to establish a public-private partnership unit as a practical step to build a relationship based on transparency, trust, and shared responsibilities. He said the government is moving to ease the business and investment environment and enable the private sector to play a real role across different fields without obstacles. The discussion focused on current challenges facing the private sector and proposals to build a genuine partnership with the government. The meeting concluded with an agreement to form a joint committee between the government and the private sector to assess the relationship, identify obstacles facing local and foreign trade and investment, and propose practical steps to strengthen partnership. In military and security affairs, Minister of Defense Tahir Al-Ugaili met in Aden with the European Union Ambassador to Yemen, Patrick Simonet, and French Ambassador Catherine Kerm-Kamoun. The meeting discussed military and security developments, regional and international changes, and their impact on Yemen, along with issues of mutual concern. Al-Ugaili reviewed the Ministry of Defense's current priorities, including improving the efficiency of the armed forces, strengthen their defensive capabilities, supporting counter-terrorism efforts, and securing maritime navigation routes. He praised European positions in support of Yemen and efforts to restore state institutions and end the Houthi militia coup backed by the Iranian regime. He also stressed the importance of supporting the capabilities of the armed forces, enabling them to carry out their duties in preserving security and stability across the country. Yemen and China signed today a development cooperation agreement aimed at strengthening bilateral relations and supporting humanitarian and development cooperation between the two countries. The agreement was signed on behalf of the government by the Minister of Planning and International Cooperation, Afrah Al-Zuba, and on behalf of China by Chargé d'Affaires of Chinese Embassy, Shaoxing. Under the agreement, China will provide a grant worth 50 million Chinese yuan to support humanitarian assistance or development cooperation projects based on the government priorities and mutual agreement between the two sides. Following the signing, Azuba praised China's support for Yemen and said the agreement would help address humanitarian and development challenges and support economic recovery. The two sides also discussed priority sectors, including water, electricity, education, health, capacity building, and opportunities to connect Chinese companies with the private sector in agriculture, fisheries, and manufacturing. Also in Aden, Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research, Dr. Amir Nu'man, met with French Ambassador Catherine Kerm-Kamoun to discuss strengthening cooperation in higher education, academic exchange, and the development of educational programs. The meeting reviewed the situation of higher education institutions, key challenges facing universities and research centers, and the need to improve university infrastructure, academic accreditation, quality assurance, and curricula. Nu'man stressed that the ministry is preparing development plans to improve the quality of education, strengthen accreditation standards, and build partnerships with international universities and educational institutions. For her part, the French ambassador affirmed her country's readiness to support initiatives aimed at developing higher education and scientific research, expanding academic exchange, and increasing opportunities for scholarships and professional qualification. Minister of Public Works and Roads Hussein Al-Ughrabi met in Aden with the European Union delegation headed by Ambassador Patrick Simonet. The meeting discussed cooperation in roads and infrastructure and ways to strengthen partnership in development and service projects in the liberated governorates. Al-Ughrabi stressed the importance of enhancing cooperation with the European Union and benefiting from its support programs in infrastructure and roads. For his part, Ambassador Simonet reaffirmed the European Union's commitment to supporting Yemen in development and service sectors and strengthening cooperation with the ministry on projects that improve infrastructure and basic services. Minister of State Abdulrahman Sheikh met with French Ambassador Catherine Kerm-Kamoun to discuss strengthened cooperation in humanitarian and development fields. The meeting reviewed projects implemented during the first half of this year with French support, as well as planned projects for the second half across several service and development sectors. Governor Sheikh affirmed the local authorities' commitment to expanding partnership with international and regional partners to improve services and strengthen institutional performance. For her part, the French ambassador praised the local authorities' efforts to improve services and promote stability, reaffirming France's continued support for development and service projects in Aden. Minister of Transport Mohsen Al-Omari met with UNDP resident representative in Yemen, Zaina Ali, to discuss cooperation and support the transport sector. The meeting reviewed key UNDP-supported projects, including the rehabilitation of Aden Port through a Japanese grant. Discussions also addressed the rehabilitation of several facilities at Mukalla Seaport, aimed at improving port efficiency and operational services. Al-Omari reviewed the ministry's efforts to address challenges facing air and maritime transport amid current regional developments, while ensuring service and smoother movement of shipping and transport. For her part, Zaina Ali affirmed UNDP's commitment to supporting transport projects that improve infrastructure, support economic recovery, and facilitate trade and services. In another key meeting, Minister of Human Rights Majd Al-Omar met with the European Union delegation headed by Patrick Simonet, the European ambassador to Yemen, to discuss cooperation in human rights, institutional reform, and the protection of rights and freedoms. Minister Omar affirmed the government's commitment to its national and international human rights obligations despite current challenges, emphasizing that efforts are continuing to strengthen the rule of law, improve national institutions, and protect public freedoms. He also addressed the file of abductees and forcibly disappeared persons, describing it as a humanitarian priority, especially for affected families. For his part, Ambassador Simonet praised the ministry's early steps, including field visits to detention centers and prisons, and affirmed the European Union's readiness to support capacity building and legal alignment with international standards. Minister of Water and Environment Tawfiq Al-Sharjabi met with the International Relief Organization representative Dina Rifat to discuss cooperation in water and environmental projects. The meeting reviewed possible technical support for studies and assessments in water and sanitation, including urgent medium-term and long-term needs. Al-Sharjabi affirmed the ministry's keenness to expand cooperation with the organization to improve water services and support sustainable development. In a related meeting, Al-Sharjabi discussed with the UNESCO Regional Director for Gulf States and Yemen, Salah Khalid, the condition of the historic Aden cisterns and the impact of urban expansion and random construction on flood channels. The meeting also addressed the Japanese-funded desalination project and the need for additional financing to complete it, and strengthen water security in Aden. On training and capacity building, Minister of Technical Education and Vocational Training Anwar Al-Mahri met with UNESCO Regional Director Salah Khalid and his accompanying delegation to discuss strength and cooperation in developing Yemen's technical and vocational education sector. Al-Mahri affirmed the ministry's keenness to expand partnership with UNESCO and benefit from its expertise in improving vocational education outcomes and strengthening training institutions. He also praised UNESCO's support for technical and vocational education in the region and its role in developing training systems. For his part, Salah Khalid confirmed UNESCO's readiness to provide institutional and technical support, modernize curricula, and develop programs that respond to current changes and labor market requirements. A specialized workshop opened today in Aden to review and evaluate TAI's Governorate's economic and social development plan for 2024 and 2025, and to set intervention priorities for 2026 and 2027. The workshop brings together representatives of the local authority in TAI's, government bodies, United Nations agencies, international organizations, donors, and the private sector. The EU ambassador to Yemen, Patrick Simonet, praised the efforts made in preparing and implementing the plan, reaffirming the EU's continued support for strengthened stability and development in the governorate.
Very important development plan. We like the way it ties its local authorities, its partners, its civil societies, how they have been associated to the design of the plan, and it needs to continue. So the finalization of the plan, the implementation of the plan, it needs to be in an inclusive way. And frankly, that's also what I discovered in TAIS, the inclusivity. Political parties are associated. When I was received by His Excellency the Governor, there were the political parties were present there. So there's a culture of inclusivity, of dialogue, of coordination and cooperation, which gives me a lot of hope in terms of the future of TAIS. Thank you.
Minister of Local Administration Badr Basalama said the workshop goes beyond a traditional review process, describing it as an opportunity to assess current changes and prepare more effective development plans. TAIS Governor Nabil Shamsan said the plan supports the shift from emergency humanitarian response to recovery and sustainable development. The Saudi Development and Reconstruction Program for Yemen reviewed its projects in several sectors, while the United Nations and Japan reaffirmed support for development efforts in TAIS. Yemen participated in the high-level media and think tank forum for the Global South, held as part of China-Arab Partnership Conference in Cairo. The forum is organized by the League of Arab States in cooperation with China's Xinhua news agency and was opened by Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abul Ghait and Xinhua President Fo Hao. The two-day forum brings together around 150 participants from China and Arab countries, including senior officials, media professionals, researchers, and representatives of regional and international organizations. Discussions focus on strengthening China-Arab friendship, building new communication channels between Arab and Chinese media, sharing opportunities in technology and digital transformation, and highlighting the role of media and think tanks in peace, development, and dialogue among civilizations. Yemen also participated in the meeting of the Middle East and North Africa Financial Action Task Force held in Rabat, Morocco from May 11th to May 13th. The meeting brings together delegations and experts from member states, along with regional and international bodies concerned with combating money laundering and terrorism financing. Discussions focused on strengthening compliance with international standards, improving coordination among member states, applying financial action task force standards to non-profit organizations, and preparing for the third round of mutual evaluations. The meeting also reviews national and regional risk assessment projects, financial Financial Intelligence Unit reports counterterrorism, financing discussions, and mechanisms for cooperation with international and regional partners. Participants stressed the importance of stronger regional and international coordination to protect financial systems from exploiting and illicit activities. The 10th International Middle East Conference opened today in Istanbul under the theme Searching for the Future, with the participation of academics, researchers, experts, university professors, students, and public figures from Turkey and several Arab and Islamic countries. The conference is organized by the Mulka Center for Strategic Studies in partnership with Istanbul Gülşen University as part of academic and research cooperation aimed at deepening dialogue on current and future Middle East issues. Mulka Center Chairman Atiq Jarallah said the conference provides an important platform for scientific dialogue and exchanging views on the future of the region. The conference received around 70 research papers covering the state, society, terrorism, identity, conflicts, and future opportunities for the peoples and countries of the region. Yemen is also present in the conference agenda through papers discussing the future of the conflict and the impact of the war on women and children. That was the news bulletin from SABA Satellite Channel. Thank you for joining us and have a good time.